Mario Vargas Llosa, the towering Peruvian novelist, journalist, and Nobel laureate, has died at the age of 89 in Lima, Peru. His death was confirmed in a joint statement by his 3 children, Alvaro, Gonzalo, and Morgana Vargas Llosa. His passing marks the end of an era in Latin American literature and politics, a life dedicated to storytelling, truth-seeking, and the relentless defense of freedom. Born in Arequipa, Peru, in 1936, and raised partly in Bolivia, Vargas Llosa's early life was shaped by familial separation, strict discipline, and the rigid structures of military education, experiences that became the foundation for his groundbreaking first novel, The Time of the Hero. Published in 1963, the book laid bare the brutality and corruption of life inside a Peruvian military academy. The novel was so controversial that military leaders publicly burned copies, accusing him of treason, but the global literary world took notice, launching him into the international spotlight. He was part of the legendary boom generation of Latin American writers in the 1960s, alongside Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Julio Cortázar, and Carlos Fuentes. But unlike some of his peers who embraced magical realism, Vargas Llosa remained firmly grounded in realism, weaving together politics, eroticism, power, and morality with a journalist's eye and a novelist's soul. His fiction, often autobiographical, explored the struggles of the individual against authoritarian regimes, social injustice, and the chaos of modern life. Among his most acclaimed works is Conversation in the Cathedral, a bleak but brilliant dissection of Peruvian society under the dictatorship of General Manuel Odría. Another monumental work, The War of the End of the World, fictionalized a violent 19th-century religious rebellion in Brazil, blending historical research with intense narrative energy. In Aunt Julia and the Scriptwriter, he drew from his controversial early marriage to a woman nearly 15 years his senior, crafting one of his most beloved and humorous novels. But Vargas Llosa was not only a literary figure, he was also a political firebrand. Disillusioned by the leftist ideologies that once inspired him, particularly after witnessing the repression under Fidel Castro's regime, he shifted toward classical liberalism and became one of Latin America's most vocal defenders of democracy and free market economics. In 1990, he made an unprecedented move for a writer. He ran for president of Peru. His campaign, under the banner of the Freedom Movement, promoted privatization, economic liberalization, and the rule of law. Although he lost to Alberto Fujimori in a surprise upset, the campaign cemented his role as a political intellectual unafraid to put theory into action. Following his political defeat, Vargas Llosa retreated from public office but never from public discourse. He became a regular columnist for El País in Spain, where he also held citizenship. His column, Piedra de Toque, or Touchstone, was syndicated across Latin America and the US, offering sharp insights on politics, culture, and current events. Whether discussing populism in Venezuela, the paintings of Monet, or defending liberal democracies, his essays remained clear, unapologetic, and deeply intellectual. His support for global capitalism and strong democratic institutions earned him both praise and scorn. He often clashed with Latin America's populist and socialist leaders, becoming a vocal critic of regimes in Cuba, Venezuela, and Bolivia. He even famously sent flowers and a note to former UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher thanking her for defending liberty. Beyond his public persona, Vargas Llosa's personal life often mirrored the drama of his novels. His first marriage to Julia Urquidy, a woman 10 years his senior, caused a family scandal and later inspired literature. After divorcing, he married Patricia Llosa, a cousin, with whom he had 3 children. Their 50-year marriage ended in 2015 after he began a high-profile relationship with Spanish-Filipina socialite Isabel Preisler, the former wife of singer Julio Iglesias. That relationship also made headlines but ended in 2022. Though he lived abroad for much of his life, in France, Spain, the UK, and elsewhere, Peru was always his literary compass. His feelings toward his homeland were complicated. He once described Peru as a place he viewed with suspicion, passion, and rage, yet also a hatred steeped in tenderness. In interviews, he often quoted Herman Melville's reference to Lima as the strangest, saddest city, and with a smile, admitted there was truth in the fog and the drizzle. Over the course of his career, Mario Vargas Llosa published more than 50 books, novels, essays, plays, and critical studies. He won nearly every major literary award, including Spain's Miguel de Cervantes Prize, the Jerusalem Prize, and the pinnacle of literary achievement, the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2010, for what the Swedish Academy called his cartography of structures of power and trenchant images of the individual's resistance, revolt, and defeat. Vargas Llosa leaves behind a body of work that doesn't just speak to Peru or Latin America, it speaks to the human condition, the eternal dance between freedom and authority, and the power of words to challenge empires. He is survived by his children, Alvaro, Gonzalo, and Morgana, and by a world that will long feel the impact of his voice. Mario Vargas Llosa may have passed, but the ink he spilled continues to echo, in classrooms, in protests, in bookshops, and in the quiet minds of readers searching for truth.